Hello everyone and welcome to Sunup. I'm Lyndall Stout. Research is at the heart of everything we do here on Sunup, and today we want to talk about a groundbreaking project underway in the area of animal science. Here's Austin Moore.
When we talk about cattle efficiency, we are usually talking about feed. But in light of our recent drought, a group of researchers at Oklahoma State University are taking a different approach.
One thing that we haven't really looked at is the water resources that we use in cattle production. We have a lot of guidelines based on temperature and weight, but based on studies in other animal models, it looks like there's quite a bit of variation in water intake. So I think there's some opportunities either through genetics or management, or those two opportunities combined, that can give us a chance to really make some progress in that front as well.
To address this issue, Rolf and her collaborators have been awarded a $1 million grant from the USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture.
So in this study, we're looking at both genomics in terms of DNA information, as well as metagenomics, which is sequencing of rumen microbial populations to try and discover more about how those populations affect feed and water intake.
Over the course of this study, more than 800 animals will be monitored, not as a herd, but as individuals.
So typically water intake is measured on a pen basis, and you lose all that interesting information in terms of how animal A versus animal B is water efficient.
We asked beef sustainability specialist Sara Place to show us some of the equipment being used.
So this system is called an Instant-Tech feeding system. We have about 30 animals in each pen. We have 4 pens in this barn. And what happens is each one of these animals has an identifier in their ear, a little ear tag. So what happens is the animal will stick their head through the opening, and this gray piece on top is a panel reader. And what happens is once that animal gets into the feeder, this information goes to a computer and it's recorded that, for example, steer 856 got into the feeder at a certain time. It will take a weight of the feed at that time and record how long the animal is in there feeding. And then when that animal leaves, it will record the weight again. So by the difference, we can figure out how much the animal eats every single time. And then the concept is the same for the water intake. At the corner of each one of these pens are the waters. So it's exactly the same concept, except rather than having feed in here, we have water. So the animals are all adapted and trained to use this system pretty rapidly. They figure it out quite quickly. So that's essentially the concept. All these animals are fed the same exact ration because, again, we want to look at individual feed and water efficiency for these animals. So we don't want to have any differences other than just the animals themselves in terms of what's contributing to that difference in efficiency.
This data, compiled with animal behavior monitored through cameras, genetic data from the animal and its rumen population, gain data, respiration data, carcass data, and much, much more, will give us insight into cattle that we simply haven't had before.
So what's unique is putting all that together and getting a complete picture of how, for example, one factor of feed efficiency, does that mean that those animals have different behavior? Does that mean those animals have different microbial populations? It's just going to give us a lot more information about what drives all these differences across animals for kind of the first time really looking at that comprehensively in beef cattle.
Something that should have both short-term implications for the industry with improved management decision tools and long-term benefits from identifying more efficient genetics.
Well, the short-term goals are really focused around management of cattle. And in this study, we really want to focus on the development of some decision support tools that will help cattle producers in dealing with drought. So we're working with Oklahoma Mesonet to build those decision support tools. And as we know, genetics is always something that takes a little bit more of an investment in time with beef cattle because we have a long generation interval. So kind of our short-term approach is to focus on some of those management opportunities while we collect the data that will help us build the building blocks to address some of these issues from a genetics perspective.
And with such a large and comprehensive sample, we can expect the data this study produces to shape research for decades to come. For Sunup, I'm Austin Moore.